Yes, you're welcome, everyone. My name is Kiden Sarah, and I will be taking you into entrepreneurship. So, today we are going to look at the steps in developing an innovative product. So, in our previous lesson, we looked at what is creativity and then innovation. So, today, let's look at the steps in developing an innovative product. So before looking into these different steps, let's first understand the scenario. So we see that in our scenario, we have John is a student in a school where students often forget to carry their water bottles. So he noticed that many of his classmates get thirsty during break time, but the school canteen is always crowded easily. So he looked around at home for unused materials and found a small plastic container stripped from an old bag and some stickers and t-shirts, got feedback and made some improvements to make it stronger and more attractive. So that is our scenario, and then we have questions. It says, question number 1, identify the problem that John observed. What solution did John think of to solve the problem? What is the name given to the first module of product made for testing? And then explain one way John tested and improved his product. And then question number 5, it says, mention and explain any 3 steps in developing an innovative product using John's action in a scenario. So I expect you by the end of this lesson to be able to answer these questions. So let's dive into the different steps in developing an innovative product. So step number 1, we need to identify a problem. So when you identify a problem, you need to think of a solution. After thinking of the solution, you need to use the available materials. So um, after using the available resources, you need to create a module. So after creating, so let's look at these steps one by one. So one, we have identify a problem. So when you identify a problem, you need to look for a problem that needs solving. So you need to understand what is that problem that needs to be solved. And then 2, every innovative product starts with a problem. You cannot just be innovative without first identifying the problem. So after identifying the problem, and then every innovative product starts with a problem. And then we need to think is identifying a problem. And then step number 2, think of a solution. How do you think of a solution? You need to come up with a creative way to solve the problem. So when you come up with this creative way to solve the problem, now that you have understood the problem, how can you fix it? You need to ask yourself, how can you fix it? And then you need to use your imagination and creativity. You need to use your imagination and creativity, and then you don't worry if it seems simple. As sometimes you may imagine, and then you have a simple solution and you think this solution may not work because it is too simple. No, you don't need to worry about it because it's too simple. The simple ideas, they often work best. If you identify some idea that is simple, they'll work best. This available available materials, you use what you have around you to create your idea. So you look around your environment. What can you use to create your idea? And then you need to look for the tools or the recycled items or the basic materials at home or at school. So when you look around, and then you see where, for instance, you can get around and then you see these recycled items. What are those that you can use, and then you can be able. So for examples, we have the tires. These tires are the car tires. There have been people seems to just throw them anyhow and think that is it or no. Those tires still can work as you can come up with a chair out of those tires, you can come with table out of those tires. And then also the water bottle. These water bottles that people they after taking water you just throw anyhow. This can help. You can be able to come up with something creative, flower, or you come up with a flower vessel, or you come up with something that is very nice. And then also we have these polythene bags. These polythene bags can be used also. You can recycle them and they can be used to decorate something beautiful out of it. And then also you need to encourage resourcefulness and reduce waste. So you can help the use it encourage the use of resources. And then also you don't need to it doesn't need expensive items to be innovative. It doesn't need that you need to have expensive products to be innovative. I've told you that these water bottles you can. So there is a certain you can come. People can be able to build a house with these water bottles, and they are not expensive. You see someone just collect them. You collect them, or you can buy from these people who collect them. We have these street kids that collect these water bottles and sell them and sell them, and you get them at a cheaper price, or you can even giving yourself a task and then start picking them, because no one will refuse you from picking them. Picking them, it's free, and then you come up with something that it doesn't need even lots of capital. It doesn't need to be expensive. It is not even very expensive. And then we also see after using the available resources, then you need to create a module. So how do you create a module? You need to build a small version of your product. So you first start and test a small version of your product, and then a model. This model will help you to see your idea in real life. So you may have an idea in your head, but then you don't know how it will look like. So when you start up with this small version, or with this small version of your product, then it will help you to see your idea in reality. And then also, it does not have to be perfect, just show how it works. You don't need to make it perfect, but it will just show you on how it show you how it works. And then also, these steps turn your idea into something real. So in this creating a module, it helps you to turn it into something real. So you have been having it in your idea, you don't know even how it will look, but then in this, when you create a module, it will help you to turn this idea into something. Then you need to test and improve. In testing and improve, you need to try it out and make it better. And then also you need to test your module to see if it solves the problem. So have it solved the problem that you're intending to? Remember, we are solving a problem. Remember, we identified the problem and then we are trying to solve the problem. So does your module really does it solve your problem? And then also you need to ask for feedback from others. You need to give out your product to other people to give you feedback. So this feedback will help you to understand or to know yourself, or to credit yourself and say, am I in the right direction? And then also it improves the design based on what works and what doesn't work. And then also you need to keep on testing until it's better. You don't need to stop like I'm done, then you stop there. No, you need to keep on testing and then making sure that you make the improvement every time to make it better. So the more you do it, the more it becomes more better. So let's kick back to our questions that say identify the problem that John observed. So when you look at in our scenario, what did John observe? See that John observed that there are different students usually forget their bottle. So that's the problem that he observed. Yes, he observed that students forget their water bottles, and then in the canteen people are always crowded and they don't have funds to buy one. So what solution did John think of to solve the problem? We see that John thought of making of coming up with coming up with the attached these things. He attached these water bottles so that the students can be able not to forget cannot forget their bottles at home. And then we also see that what is the name given to the first module of a product made for testing. When you make this first product that you make, when you make the first product to see for testing, what is the name that is given as sample? So we also see that explain one way John tested and improved his product. And also question number 5, it says mention and explain any 3 steps in developing an innovative product using John's action in the scenario. So you need to mention 3. You need to mention 3 steps. You need to mention any 3 steps. For example, step number 1, we say you need to identify the problem, and then you think of the solution, and then you use the available resources. So those are some of the steps that you need to take. And then you need to relate it when you're answering, you need to relate it to John's action in the scenario. All right, thank you. We've come to an end of this lesson. Have a great day.